Okay, so this is Tasha with Graveyard Girl. I'm out here today at Northville Cemetery, also known as Fairview Cemetery, in Northville, Spink County, South Dakota. And I'll tell you a little bit of a story that I know about someone who is buried here. So, not a great storyteller, but the story goes, it's about someone who was a notorious female serial killer, con artist, and arsonist in the early 1900s in the US here. She was born in Norway in 1859 under the name Brynhild Sorseth, and she immigrated to the United States in 1881. She eventually changed her name, maybe to Americanize, and was known as Belle. She did marry a couple of times, and her final known name that she was famous for is Belle Gunness. She was known by many different names, one being Hell's Belle, and she murdered at least 14 people. Some speculate up to 40 deaths attributed to her hand. She did like to collect insurance money, and so multiple homes, outbuildings, businesses she had burned down and collected insurance money on those. She offed her two husbands and collected money on those. She was a parent and foster parent. She had multiple kids. There's people who say that she didn't have any biological children. Others say she did. She had stepchildren. She had foster kids. Anyway, she was very heartless. She didn't care. So multiple people died at her hand. Her motive was clearly to gain money from this. Anyway, in the time after her husband's passed away, she needed a new way to make some income. She used that money and bought a farm out at Porte, Indiana. And she started placing ads in Norwegian newspapers throughout the Midwest, in which she was enticing bachelors with money to come marry her and join her at this big, great farm. So she wrote to many, many men, and I'm not sure the figures at this time, but many men went to her farm and later disappeared. Lots of these men, as I say, were bachelors. Maybe they didn't have a family. That was kind of all part of her plan, was hopefully no one was going to come looking for these people. Anyway, one of the last victims was named Andrew Helgelien, and he was also born in Norway, 1858, and at the time where he fell under Belle's scheme, he was living as a farmer in my hometown of Aberdeen, South Dakota. And he exchanged around 75 letters with Belle Gunness from about 1907 until he moved to her property in January 1908 with plans to marry her. And he withdrew $2,900 from his bank, and he did tell his family, which was lucky, because he, big surprise, would also go missing. His brother, Asle Helgelien, became concerned and finally traveled to the Gunness farm in May, wondering what had happened and became of his brother Andrew, because the letters had stopped from him. By then, Belle had realized that something was going down. She then made a quick break for it and burned her house down, with supposedly herself and her children inside. The bodies that were found were of her children, and one such that they said was her was a headless female body of a much smaller stature. And the reason they decided it was her was that her dentures were with that body, although there was mysteriously no head. So some say that she again escaped and went on somewhere else to do more crimes. However, at that time, the brother Andrew decided to dig deeper into the situation, and there was a hired hand out at the farm who Belle had asked to dig some pig pen areas, and he pointed these out, and they discovered that there was a freshly moved earth spot in which they were able to find the body of Andrew and multiple other young men. Unfortunately, Asle had to see that and identify his own brother. But he then is the reason for the end of the Gunness horrors. Or what do you think? Did she go on and find her schemes somewhere else? This is the grave of Asle Helgelien, 1855 to 1912. Rest in peace.